You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found on the podcast link at drawincustomers.com. We're coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kateman, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Jim Herkert, the Chief Executive Officer at Truscribe. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, James. Thanks.
Awesome. How about you tell our audience, we'll start with what is Truscribe?
Well, Truscribe is a company that was formed in 2011, and we actually draw to change.
Draw to change. I love it.
Yes. So we'll take your complex ideas and create imagery around them in various different mediums to help the audience. Maybe it's a marketing audience, or maybe it's an internal customer, or internal training. It's a new employee that needs to learn something.
All right.
And we might create a video around that particular topic. And that video will contain imagery that supports the message.
All right.
So, for instance, our medium is typically whiteboard video.
Awesome.
So the hand-drawn video. So we got started. I have to tell the story about how we got
by all means.
How we got started in order to...
This is the authentic business part, so I love it.
That's right. Okay. So my son-in-law, his name is Eric, has a background in 3 things. Graphic design, illustration, and video. Okay. So somebody asked him if he could create a whiteboard video, and at the time he was an entrepreneur doing branding work.
Oh, nice. Okay. And with his own business.
With his own business.
Okay.
And I was helping him from a coaching perspective on how to make the business more profitable. Sure. And so how he could support my daughter.
There's always a goal, right?
That was the goal. Absolutely. And to that end, somebody asked him to do this video because of his skill set. Sure. And he said yes. Being the entrepreneur, he didn't have any idea how he was going to do it. Okay. But he said yes.
So you're talking about essentially there's some stop motion that has to happen, right? With photography or something like that?
Well, that's, he didn't know.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
was the answer.
I can tell that's a perfect entrepreneur answer, right? Yes. I can totally do this. Let me figure out how.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. It took him 3 months to figure that out.
All right.
And in that time frame, this customer that ended up asking him through a mutual person that knew both of their skill sets. Sure. Her name was Dr. Susan Weinshank. Okay. And she's a behavioral psychologist that specialized in how people act or react on the web. Okay. So one of her books was 100 Things Every Web Designer Should Know.
Oh, interesting.
Another one was called Neuromarketing, What Makes Them Click. Okay. And so Eric asked her, is there anything in the books that I should know in preparation for doing this video? And waiting with bated breath for the answer, she said yes, and slid the 2 books across the table and said, read them.
Oh, here you go.
And so Eric read the books, and what he pulled out of it was that what we now call scribology. Okay. It's really 12 principles that go into the design and production process of these videos.
Interesting.
That are based in neuroscience. Okay. So, for instance, one of them is synchronization between the audio and the visuals. Okay. So, if you're watching a video, or actually anything, it doesn't have to be just a video, but if you're online, but think of a video. And what's being shown on the screen is supported by audio that matches. Sure. You're engaging those 2 senses, and they're both aligned. Okay. And so you're watching and you're listening to what's being said. Sure. And so that message is being retained by you because those 2 senses are being reinforced. Okay. In the case where somebody has got imagery up in the video that doesn't match the text or doesn't match the audio. Yeah. What happens is your brain has to decide which of those 2 channels am I going to keep on. Okay. So think of the Super Bowl commercial. Sure. That was really cool, but you have no idea what it was for.
Arguably most of them.
So what happens then is that imagery is not in sync. So the audio portion of your brain just says, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm just going to watch.
Okay.
So that's one of the principles that we abide by then, is making sure that what's being drawn is highly relevant to what's being said.
Sure.
So that changes our videos a lot, because we have to draw a lot of imagery because there's a lot of text being talked about.
Okay.
So it also means that it's going to be simplified imagery.
Sure.
So if you think about, well, I've got an office setting. In our case, we don't have to draw a computer on the desk and pencil in the cup holder or in the pencil holder, or paper in the waste paper basket.
Sure.
We don't need all of that. What we do is we'll draw as few lines as possible, because we want that imagery to be just coinciding with the fact that, hey, this person's in an office setting right away.
Sure.
The other stuff doesn't matter. Your brain has already figured out that character is in
filled
an
in the
office.
blanks, essentially.
Exactly.
Sure.
So that's another part of the scribology, is that when your brain is more engaged by watching what's being drawn, because you're trying to anticipate what's being drawn.
Sure.
So there's the 12 principles. I could get into a lot of detail and take more than this hour.
Fair.
But that's essentially what makes us different. And now we've branched off and we do more than just video.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, we were at an event at Miller Park. Where we did what we call big boarding.
Okay.
So there was a keynote address being given, actually 3 of them on that day.
Okay.
And we had an artist listening, and as the keynote was being given, he was creating imagery that supported the narrative of the talk.
On how big of a piece are we talking?
4 foot by 8 foot piece of paper.
That is a big board.
That's a big board. And so an audience was more engaged because they were seeing this artwork being created.
Oh, like there was a camera on him.
It was a small enough group, 200 people.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that they could actually see.
Sorry, you said Miller Park. I imagine like.
No, we were in a room inside
inside
of Miller Park, not the 40,000.
Okay, like, that's a crowd.
That would
Don't mess up.
That's right.
Okay.
But that was a great event. This was the 4th or 5th year that company had done this event.
Sure.
And they said that we just took them to another level.
Oh, it's awesome.
Because the audience was so much more engaged.
Sure.
And at the end of the talk, people would come up and take pictures of that with their cell phones, because they wanted to have those visual notes for them. We did another meeting in a similar type of gig for a Carnival Cruise over 3 days, where we produced 12 boards.
Oh, wow.
Over that time.
You're talking 12 4x8 boards?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was a lot. Cow. But the CEO afterwards said, "You are the long-term memory for our meeting."
Sure.
And
that's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, that was a great comment. So that's why we draw to change, is what we do.
Sure.
Is that when you invest in a meeting like that, people can go away from that and just kind of forget.
Oh, totally. You'll
learned.
email them the PowerPoint that they'll never open.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they don't care about that.
Now
they mean to, but they
do.
Just don't.
That's right.
It's just like the stack of business cards they have on their desk, right? Someday I'll look at those and enter them, and you don't.
But now you've got this one page that highlights the key concepts from the talk.
Right. In one shot.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So now we also offer other services around. Idea boarding is another thing that we call it.
Okay.
And that's for a smaller group. If you're talking about new products, for instance, and you've brought in 10 people let's do some brainstorming.
Sure.
Well, actually, why don't I give you a real live example that we did?
Okay.
We had a customer who does project management of large-scale construction projects in a unique fashion.
Okay.
The country of Nigeria sent 4 or 5 representatives from their oil ministry to learn about this new construction technique, construction management technique.
Okay.
And so there were 10 people in the room. We sent an artist there for 2 days.
Okay.
And he captured the essence of this process, so that those representatives from the oil ministry of Nigeria could take it back to their country and and explain it in a better fashion to those who needed to know.
Sure.
And so our customer was confident that what was being conveyed was more accurate.
Wow.
Because of the pictures that were being captured.
Sure.
So that's an idea boarding session that we do in a small group like that.
Sure.
So.
And was that in Madison, or was there travel involved with that?
Oh, we had to go to San Francisco for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you get a 4x8 board down in San Francisco, or how does that work?
Good question.
Like there's logistics that were like,
you're absolutely right. We have producers that we assign to these to manage those kinds of logistics.
Gotcha. Okay.
That one happened to be on short notice, so that taxed our producer a little bit.
Like I have a marker. All I need is a canvas here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I remember the whiteboard video of the UPS, I guess, had a big campaign.
Yep.
I imagine that was 7-8 years ago, something like that.
It was in 2006.
I'm way off. Okay. So shows you what I know, right? I just remember that being a huge campaign. It got really popular.
Yes.
So what have you seen over the course of time? I remember I saw the Weird Al Yankovic video that you guys did.
Yes.
I forwarded that to a ton of people. So that's super cool.
Yes.
So you get involved in a lot of different projects. That's got to be interesting.
It's very interesting, the range of our client base.
Sure.
From startups to an individual wanting to have a big impact when they meet with a company.
Sure.
And training videos for large companies.
Yeah.
It's just all kinds of interesting things.
And no, go ahead.
Another one is working for, I won't mention their names, but it's a large, well, it was a public video. So it was a product video. Microsoft, we did a product video for them for their small business server.
Sure.
They saw the English version and they liked it so much they had us translate it into 5 different languages.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they used it, yes.
That had to be a challenge.
We do that quite often.
Really?
That's okay. So we've done probably 40, I think it's around 45 different languages.
Wow.
Videos in languages I've never heard of.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yes, yeah.
So your team is all located in Madison, or are they?
No. We've got people that are spread out.
Okay.
The production team is here in Madison.
Okay.
But we've got some of our sales is out at home office. One of our producers started here in the Madison office and followed his girlfriend as she was going through her residency.
Sure.
And they recently got married.
Oh, congrats to that.
And they're now living in Portland, and he's still a producer for us.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
So how logistically, I see you got a whiteboard, you got somebody that's talented in illustration with a marker. Is it cameras then, or is it a video camera, or is it stop motion? Yep. Like, I'm curious about the technology that's involved with this.
Yeah, the way it's Eric's first video. It was started in my garage.
Okay, perfect.
Eric and my daughter Marita were living with us at the time, and in preparation for them moving in, we knew Eric needed a place to work.
Sure.
And my wife is also an artist.
Okay.
So she ultimately is going to take over this studio. She is now full-time in her studio.
Oh, nice.
But we built a studio for Eric at first. And in the studio, there was one wall that we made of whiteboard.
Okay. The whole wall?
The whole wall.
Wow.
And tripod, camera, lights, action.
Sure.
And that he actually got filmed.
Okay.
Drawing the video.
Okay.
Now, or I should say, drawing the actual characters and
sure,
hand by, and then an editor takes and speeds up, cuts out frames, and speeds up the frames. And
sure.
So it's akin to stop motion, but it's not really stop motion because you're filming.
And then just speeding it up.
And
chop off some chunks, whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Chop off the mistakes and
sure,
things like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
how fast is it? Like an hour of illustration time, does that equate to 10 seconds of real video or something like that?
Good question. I'll go back to when we first started.
Okay.
When we first started, Eric had a videographer actually behind the camera.
Oh, okay.
And so we had a big project for a internet marketing company.
Okay.
And it was a 20-minute video.
Okay.
the two of them spent nearly 3 days filming.
Oh my God.
It was 20 hours of filming.
Sure.
To get down to what ended up being about 20 minutes of video.
Wow. So that's 20 hours of filming, not counting figuring out what you're going to draw and all this kind of
Right.
stuff.
That's right.
Like there's a whole idea process that I imagine, meetings, whatever.
Absolutely.
That has
Absolutely.
to go on top of that. Wow.
And it was 2 people.
Okay.
Since then, we've got it so that the camera is fixed.
Okay.
And you don't need to have an operator.
Sure.
We've got remote controls.
Okay.
So we cut that piece of it out.
Gotcha.
And Eric got better. When we did that, we have another 20-minute video that he did just weeks later.
Okay.
For the same company. Mm-hmm. And he got it down to 8 hours of filming.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So
less than half. All right.
Yes. Well, again, there was only one person instead
Right.
of 2.
Oh, sure.
So
So
from
less than a quarter.
right.
All right.
Right. So.
Nice.
But it takes about 3 to 4 hours of filming for a minute of video.
Wow.
Is
That's
about-
still a lot.
It is a lot. People
Because
don't
I think somebody
realize-
has to edit all that or go through it all.
Yes, they
right?
have to. The editors have to edit that.
Sure.
So it is a lot of work to
Sure.
create those videos. Yes.
Wow. So I imagine when you were going to your son-in-law about the business case for it, and you're like, "Hey, how long did it take you to write this, or make this video?" He said, "Hey, it only took me a couple weeks." Like, okay, how are we going to price this?
Well, at first Eric did the pricing himself.
Okay.
And we eventually got that more systematized.
Sure.
Let me just put it that way.
Sure, that's every business, or just about every business, is running into that same issue, right?
Yes.
What do we charge for our stuff? Well, I don't know. What do we?
Well, the good thing about this is my background is more in construction,
Okay.
and I have a good costing background.
Sure.
And so that's the way I approached this.
Mm-hmm.
Is I said, okay, what is our effort
Sure.
going to be around producing videos?
Mm-hmm.
Bearing in mind that there's going to be a producer,
Sure.
there's going to be all these other components,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's how we ended up establishing our pricing to begin with. And,
Sure.
and market pricing, we were aiming to try and be somewhat below the average because we wanted to be affordable.
Sure.
We wanted to be popular
Okay.
and have more customers afford us.
Mm-hmm.
And that strategy has worked. We've raised our prices a bit over the years, but
Okay.
we're still, that's our general philosophy is
Gotcha.
we don't want to be a big price tag on
Okay.
for people.
Sure.
So,
Sure. So tell me, I want to back up to when you first started. Did you go to Eric, or did Eric come to you to actually start a business?
So again, Eric and I were working together from the very beginning. When I saw that first video,
Okay.
I was working with him on his consulting on his graphic design business.
Sure. So it's kind of a side hustle, more or less. Or
It was
wasn't-
at
It wasn't
first.
the focus.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's when I said, when I saw that video, before it even got published, I said, that's really, you've got to make a business around this. This
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah.
And he was very smart in that he added his URL to the end of the video.
Oh, nice.
And so he started getting lots of web traffic at his, it was called Population Design,
Okay.
at his Population Design site.
Sure.
For this video, and he came to the same conclusion that, hey, this is really something.
All right.
And so we took the next 6 months or so to formulate a real business around just that.
Okay.
Coming
Was it
up
just the two of you to start?
No, I was a small part of it.
Okay.
I was more on the side. I was still doing my own other thing.
Gotcha.
Eric had a friend of his that was also in the marketing, in this population design business,
Sure.
helping him.
Sure.
But yeah, and then one of the first pieces of advice I gave Eric was, you need someone else to sell this.
Ah.
And so,
Because he's not a salesperson, or
Because
would be taking out of his production time, or both, maybe.
it was both.
Okay.
It was both.
Sure.
And coincidentally, his brother-in-law, my son,
Yeah.
was at home in between semesters of his grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave him an assignment and said, okay, if you can, in 3 months, if you can sell this amount, we'll consider that a success, and maybe
Sure.
you should be an employee then.
Oh.
He's commission only.
Okay.
He met the goal in 6 weeks.
Oh, nice.
So,
All right.
and he really liked it because he was, I got a little cash here.
Sure. All right. You had a full house then. A little business being run, and all this son-in-law, and
Yeah, and my wife was still trying to be an artist,
okay.
and she had no space to do that.
Sure. Because you're talking these I want to say kids, that's probably not accurate. They're probably 20-something at the time, 30-something?
My son was in his 20s and Eric was in his 30s.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you had the grown-up crowd that was in, like, this was an empty nest.
And I was working out of my house, too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So my wife's studio at the time ended up being in our entryway.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So does your son still work in the business?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
But he did for up until January.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So years.
Years.
All
yes,
right.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So he's gone on and doing sales for somebody else.
Sure.
And doing an excellent job.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So how has the business evolved from when you first started making it happen in your garage to now?
So we're about 25 people.
Are you really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats.
The biggest expansion, thank you. The biggest expansion came in 2015.
Okay.
When we decided that we wanted to go and scale this even further.
Okay.
And one of our board members had the vision of, I think we can teach a computer to create these videos.
Oh.
And so we raised a little capital.
Eric's like, wait.
No, Eric
I'm right here.
Eric is quite excited by it, actually.
Okay.
We raised some capital and got into the software side of things. Which
really?
Again, it was part of my background, so I was not totally uncomfortable with that. I was very comfortable with that.
Sure.
To say it that way.
Sure.
And on the software side, we took a very different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Most video editing software is designed for very technical people.
Sure. Video editors.
Sure. And who go to school for video editing.
Mm-hmm.
Our vision was we want everybody to be able to create their own whiteboard videos.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so instead of starting with editing software that traditionally works with imagery first and then you build in soundtracks around it.
Sure.
We said we're going to start with the script first because that's the way we produce our videos today.
Right. Okay.
Or by hand is we start with the script.
Mm-hmm.
And so our script, a script is put into, the product is called Squiggle.
Okay.
The script is put into Squiggle. And with Squiggle, it reads the script, identifies keywords, goes to its image library, and suggests imagery for those keywords.
Wow.
So in a minute, you've got a video.
That's got to be a huge image library.
It is a huge image library, and it's growing all the time.
Okay. When you say image, you mean still image? Or a clip of a whiteboard video, essentially?
Well, good. It's both.
Okay.
What we did to create the imagery, the first thing is back to our scribology principles. Mm-hmm. The hand-drawn authenticity piece of it is very important. Mm-hmm. So seeing the image hand-drawn actually is foundational.
Sure. So
the images can be automated, and you see them as they were actually drawn.
Okay.
And so that was our first. The library started off with just thousands of images at first.
That you guys created?
That we created.
Holy cow.
To seed it. So we had a project in December of 2015 that we called the 12 Days of Glyphmas because the images were called glyphs.
Sure.
And we had 12 artists. Excuse me, 6 artists. And we did like 15,000 images in those 12 days. So the artists
just tag you're up.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yep, they had words that were just being fed to them.
Sure.
And they would just draw the images and tag them.
Wow.
So that was a fun project.
Yeah.
But since then we are partnering with other sources. And the way the product works is you can still create your own images yourself anyway. So that's back in 2015. That was a big pivot for us is adding the software element.
Sure.
So now our message, drawn to change, we've got that scale of you can do your own whiteboard video, or we can come and help you with the ideation sessions.
Sure.
or your meetings, or we can do videos that you might use on your website for marketing or training and development.
So I want to back up a step and just see if I understand the software. So if I want to create a video wrapped around a sentence like, we answer your phone, the keywords would be answer and phone, I imagine?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just spitballing here.
And if the artificial intelligence picks something that you didn't agree with, you can override that.
Okay.
And change that.
Okay. So it comes up with a couple little clips and combines them into a video.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. And then I imagine, do I come up with a voiceover then? Or how does that work?
Good question.
Okay.
Yes, you can do what we're doing right here.
Sure.
Record.
Fancy microphones, fancy headphones, and fancy board, right?
You can do all that.
Sure.
Most people don't.
Okay.
You can have a professional file read in.
Okay.
Or there's machine voices that have really come a long ways.
They have come a long way
since we've started.
Yep.
At first, it was very obvious that they were machine voices. Now it's you have to listen closely to tell that it's a machine voice.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the human voices are the best because you can get more inflection.
Absolutely.
And read it as you would like it read.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for the Squiggle is designed for high volume. I've got a lot of text that I need to turn into videos.
Sure.
And so in some of those cases, just think of onboarding for a large company.
Sure.
They might just have the machine voice read it simply because it's going to get that material all done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if we were, let's just say for an example, just walk me through, if we were to transcribe this entire show and then pump it into that software, is that too big or is that?
For the free version, it is.
Okay. That's awesome. Well played. Okay. For the paid version, let's say it's not too big for the paid version.
That's correct.
Okay. So what is processing time? Is it minutes? Is it seconds?
It's seconds.
Okay.
Yes.
So we stick in a transcription of the show, right?
Well, this show would probably take more like minutes.
Okay, fair enough. So we stick an hour show in there. A few minutes later, we have essentially a product, a video?
You're still going to need to edit it.
Okay.
And so we give you control over the timeline. And make some choices. For instance, if the word bold came up, your book has got that in its title.
Right.
And
so how that's interpreted.
Right.
Is that bold print? Okay, I see what you're saying.
So I want to change that to an eagle.
Sure.
To show.
Oh, gotcha.
An eagle.
Okay.
So yes, you would make those kinds of choices.
Okay.
And that kind of a choice is going to make your video better.
Sure. Sure. But it's giving you a video to fix rather than a video to create.
Exactly.
Which is way easier to fix something than it is to create something.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's clever.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So the free version, I didn't even know there was a free version. So what is the limitation of the free version? Is it time?
It's time, watermark.
Okay.
No download, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
The basic stuff. Okay.
Where we're finding really high levels of interest is also in the educational settings.
Mm-hmm.
One of our board members who had the vision that I'm talking about is a professor at a university up in St. Paul.
Okay.
And so they've used it in some classes up in there, and they're finding that the students are much better students.
Really?
Because they pay more attention. Just think of it as they're creating, instead of creating a PowerPoint.
Sure. The most boring thing in the world.
Right.
Right.
Now the students have to put more thought into the text. That's
sure.
Because PowerPoints are typically void of, let's call it, coherent text.
Sure.
They're just bullet points, etc. Or
painful to look at sometimes.
Right.
What do we need the presenter for when we can read?
Exactly.
Sure.
But they have to be careful about the words that they put in there because of the imagery that's going to be used to support it.
All right.
So the reactions from the professors are that this is good for the students. It's also an easy way for instructional designers or professors to create some content for them as well.
Sure. Clever.
Yeah.
Huh. I want to shift. You have a great segue here. You mentioned the board a couple times. How did you decide who to be on your board? Like, I'm assuming it wasn't just like, hey, I go out for beers every once in a while with this guy, let's just grab him.
Correct. I would say that the professor that I'm talking about was the impetus for that.
Okay.
It's as a lot of things in life, it was fortuitous that I met him.
Okay.
He happened to be the professor of. My son had him in a class.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And they struck a rapport, and the professor, Dr. Mohawish is his name. Cites that my son was one of his best students. I kind of changed it to his best student.
Sure. One of them to the. Okay. Sure.
But they developed a rapport,
okay.
and Andrew was asking him business advice because he knew that he had other businesses in his background, and software included. And but he got very excited by Truscribe and our core business, what we did from the very beginning, creating the videos. And so he became a good supporter.
Okay.
And as I got to know him and his interests and his vision, it was a no-brainer that he should be part of the board.
Sure.
And
so did you reach out to him and say, hey?
It was mutual.
Okay.
Again, just because of the relationship he had with my son, there were other conversations going on about mentoring, and that kind of went that direction.
Okay.
So yeah, and from there, the two of us kind of selected other board members based upon where we're going and things like that. So,
how did you figure out how many people you want on a board?
Not too big, not too small.
Okay, it's fair. So it wasn't a set number.
5.
Okay.
Right now, and and yes, yeah.
And you meet? Is it quarterly, monthly?
Quarterly.
Okay.
Quarterly, and ad hoc as
as needed. Right.
Right.
Either putting out fires or creating potentials for them, one of the two.
Right. One of the things that a good board member does is it supports the business. In other ways, typically it's finding customers.
Sure.
So that's one way that we're in touch with the board members a lot because they are working with us to make introductions, etc. Another board member that we have is very strong financially, and I still have a lot to do with our financials. So when I've got some sticky wickets with the financials, I'll call him up and talk through things with him.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Yes.
All right. So that the financials brings up employees, because that's a big nut, I imagine, from a financial point of view. So and you said you've grown to 25 employees. Is that right?
Yes.
Which is insane. That's super awesome growth. So how many of those are illustrators, or I guess do you call them illustrators? Do you call them?
We call them artists.
Artists, okay.
There are 4 artists plus Eric.
Okay.
So Eric isn't on the boards all the time.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Okay, so how do you find an artist for something like this?
What we have done in the past is essentially ask people to audition.
Oh, okay. They almost have to.
Right. And so the process that we developed starts with an advertisement somewhere. In today's world, Indeed or ZipRecruiter or that kind of thing. Okay. But then we send them a test. Okay. And say, here, we want you to take this script and concept it.
Gotcha.
And so before we'll meet with them, we want to see what they can draw. They send us their portfolio and things like that. So we go through this testing process and meet. So 2 of our artists, Ben Schramm has been with us 6.5 years.
Wow. Okay.
He moved from Eau Claire to take this.
That's my old hometown. Sure.
Is that right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I'm going to forget somebody.
Sure.
But Kevin, he just got married when he moved here.
Okay.
And he's been with us about. I think he's also going on 6 years.
Oh, wow.
This summer he'll be hitting his 60-year anniversary.
So you have some longevity with these guys.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And we've had another guy, Brian, who was with us about 5 years. The thing that's important, though, is that none of them were making a living using their art.
Really?
And so now they're all making their living at Truscribe.
So they applied for the job. And were they bricklayers, or what were they doing before? I mean, anywhere near?
No.
Nothing even close?
No. Ben was a counselor at a youth...
I'll call that pretty far away.
And Kevin was assembling buses.
Okay.
On an assembly line down in Oklahoma.
Arguably even further. Okay. All right.
Brian was a barista.
Nice. So they just reached out. They saw the ad for the illustrator artist needed, and they're like, "Hey, I got some skills."
In the case of Brian, there was a mutual person. One of our partners knew him.
Sure.
That he had some abilities.
That's awesome.
But in most cases, it was they saw the ad and responded.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things that when I'm looking at the videos you guys do, one of the things that I noticed, because I used to, not professional by any means, but I used to get into drawing and all that kind of stuff, besides my notebooks and stuff like that when you're in school. Every artist that I see seems to have kind of a signature. You can just tell an artist's art, right? Just like you can tell when you open up the Sunday Funnies kind of thing, even if you don't know a character, you can kind of tell like, oh, this is a Garfield character, or this is a Peanuts character, whatever. That they kind of have that signature. I have no idea what it is. The angle of the lines, the way they make the eyes, whatever. How do you deal with that with your artists? Because they probably each have their own kind of their mode or the way that they draw.
You're absolutely right, and that I'll credit Eric again with one of the things that he had the foresight to do is really create processes around the creation of the video.
Sure.
And one of the important things was learn the Truscribe style.
All right.
How to draw the characters, the eyes, the hands.
Okay.
And so the artists, before they could go on under the camera, they had to learn that style.
Sure.
Down to the point where one of the things we learned a little bit later, not early, was the alphabet.
Okay.
Because often we're writing words.
Oh, sure.
And at first, everybody had their own handwriting. Well, now they've adapted Eric's his font, if you will.
The Truscribe font. That is awesome.
Yes.
So true. So true. Even the spacing of the letters and stuff like that. Holy cow.
Yep.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So that adds to our customer experience because if we're working with a client and they bring us, 5 videos to work on, if I have to wait for a single artist to get through 5 videos, that's going to slow things down.
Sure.
But if I can parse it out and have 2 or 3 artists working on it, then it can get done quicker.
Gotcha. So you can duplicate the process between people. That's incredible, and I imagine a little bit challenging because essentially what you're talking about is training people to do an exact art, turning art into a science, so to speak.
Because they are good artists, they can do it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they have the talent to be able to pick that up and learn it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I want to shift now into the logistics. We touched on it a little bit, and as you were talking, you said under the camera. So are they working on a horizontal piece or a vertical piece?
It's actually horizontal.
Horizontal, okay. So it's literally under the camera.
Yes. So in our version 4 of our filming stations, it's under a camera, which as we've developed, the lighting is all really finely tuned. The focal length from the drawing surface to the camera is all finely tuned.
Sure.
It's just, it's all dialed in.
Interesting. Does the artist have to do something with their hand? I don't know, shave it or something? I don't know.
Why did you ask that?
Because I assume that you would see different hands.
You're actually correct.
Okay.
For our males.
Sure.
That have hair on their arms.
And it's pretty gross to see a super hairy arm. I don't know why.
Absolutely right. They do shave the arm.
Sure. Okay.
The 2 guys that.
Okay.
Well, one guy has very light hair, so he doesn't have to.
Sure.
But
interesting.
Yeah.
And then I imagine that they have to be either way to the left or right, depending upon if they're right or left-handed, to stay out of the field of vision of the camera.
So they have a monitor that they're able to see what is actually being filmed.
Sure.
That is right in front of their face. And so they have no problem staying out of the line of vision.
Sure.
And the way that the camera is all hooked up, that's all taken into account.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty easy for them to stay back.
Awesome.
We do put the client's logo on the pen.
Okay.
And so that's another detail that they have to keep that logo exposed to the lens.
Wow.
While they're drawing as much as possible.
Interesting.
Yes.
That is so cool. And is it on actual whiteboard or is it on paper or is there some special glass?
Most of the videos that we do are on whiteboard.
Okay.
We have done videos though on napkins.
Oh, really?
On newspaper print.
Okay.
Charcoal.
Sure.
With drawings. We've done a lot of different mediums.
Okay.
the whiteboard is the most popular.
Sure.
Glass, we've done glass.
All right. Interesting.
Done inside, made it look like the artist was inside a freezer once.
Oh, really?
So the frosted glass, they were drawing on
awesome.
frosted glass. Yes.
Nice. So I imagine since you guys are essentially, you're in the art business, I mean, it's communication business really, but it's fun, right? So in the art, so I imagine you guys are asked to do, like, oh, I know that you can do this. Can you do this? And tweaks. Have there been some other crazy stuff that you guys have been asked to do?
Absolutely. Really I'll mention a couple of fun ones.
Sure.
There was a talk that his name is Jeff Fritz
Okay.
was going to give to a bunch of CEOs.
Okay.
60 of them.
Okay.
And the talk started with the script saying, Jeff standing in front of the crowd, kind of meekly talking, my name is Jeff Fritz, and I'm going to talk to you about. And then we had our video in the background turn on and say, hey, Jeff, are you going to be another boring talk?
Oh, nice.
It was an interactive video between Jeff and our video.
So the video was pre-recorded?
Yes.
Oh, so there's script and everything. Oh, that's fantastic.
It turned out to be the best of the talks that were
Sure.
given that day to this group of CEOs.
That is clever.
That was the best one, yes.
Ha!
So the character's name was Bob.
Sure.
On the
Sure.
on the video. That was a fun one.
Super memorable, I imagine, for the attendees then?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Nice.
We had another one that was done in the era of James Cadman's, what's it? A, begins with A.
I can't think of it, but it doesn't matter.
Where everybody was blue.
Oh, oh my gosh. Big fancy movie, huge budget.
Yes,
Lots of flying things and machine guns.
Yes,
I know
yes.
what you're talking about. Sure.
And so they were talking about the future state of this particular company.
Okay.
And so we filmed that video with a blue tint on the hand of the artist.
Oh, clever.
And it was an introductory video for the person to come out on stage.
Okay.
So when he actually came out on stage, he did the voice track for the video.
Sure.
After this, it was like a 3-minute introduction.
Okay.
And when he came out on stage, he was hit with blue lights and had, so it looked like he was from the future as well.
Oh, funny.
That was a good one as well.
Clever.
Yeah.
So who thinks of this stuff? Is this you guys, or is it the people? The companies
that
coming
was
to you,
that
or?
was our artists contributing. They do a phenomenal job. We've done over 3,000 videos.
Wow.
And no two are the same.
Very cool.
We use new concepts all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's just what they love doing is just tweaking, getting that metaphor just right.
Right.
Making sure that imagery really supports that message.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in how many years have you been in business?
Since
I'm just doing some quick math here in my head.
8
Okay.
years.
So in the 8 years that you've been in business, what have been some of the challenges in your business that you did not anticipate?
That you don't anticipate.
Yeah. There's always, there's going to be some headaches, right? Somebody quitting or running out of ink. I don't know. Something like that.
I'd say one of the worst was getting hit by ransomware.
Literally?
Literally.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. That we've got a good server in-house that manages all the videos and a very strong archiving system so that when the video's done, it gets archived to tape automatically.
Sure.
And which has grown over time. And but we got hit by ransomware in December of last year.
Oh.
And fortunately, most of our stuff was backed up.
Okay.
But we had a few things that weren't because we have like 8 different servers doing different things. And so that was a month of just not fun.
So did somebody just click on an email they shouldn't have? Or
No.
Patient zero where that was?
No, we know what caused it. It was a vulnerability in the way that we were accessing things remotely.
All right.
That quickly got fixed. And we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That was tough.
Sure. Yeah. So are you where you thought you would be 8 years ago?
From the putting that one aside, that's I would call that a minor. Sure. In the scheme of things, that's pretty minor.
You're gonna have things like that.
Yeah.
Right? There's fires all the time, so.
Right. Adding the software component to things has had its own challenges.
I bet.
Making that profitable and scalable and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But so that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Okay.
The video production side of it has been very steady, and we maintain a ratio of about 50% new clients, 50% of our videos are going with existing clients.
Okay.
So people like us.
That's awesome.
And they tend to come back for more.
Sure.
Some of our biggest clients, we do some work with clients where we're actually working for their clients.
Oh, funny. Okay.
And
marketing companies, I imagine, or
no,
more educational companies?
No, I would call them consultants.
Okay.
So, for instance, their job is to go and tell their customers' employees about a topic.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, for instance, their 401k. What is so that company is some kind of a consulting firm around human resources.
Sure.
So their large clients might be the Googles, Microsofts, Qualcomms, et cetera, of the world.
Sure.
With these massive employee counts.
Right.
And so we help them by creating messages that are geared around their clients' needs.
Sure.
Whatever that financial plan is.
Sure. Interesting.
So those help a lot. And then we do the marketing videos for some agencies.
Okay.
Not that many.
Okay.
It's when I say that not that many, it's because the agencies, they tend to want to do the work themselves.
Sure.
And create it. So
right.
It's only when their clients are really, hey, I really want a whiteboard video.
Sure.
Can I tell a story about Weird Al? And
yeah, by all means. By all means.
That was in 2014. It was when the video was released. So it was probably late 2013 or 2012.
Okay.
That the agent found us just by searching and said, Weird Al wants to do a whiteboard video.
Sure.
Would you guys be interested?
The Weird Al Yankovic. That is so awesome.
Yes. His final video final album that he was making had a song on it that he was calling Mission Statement. Okay. And it was a parody on corporate speak.
Sure.
And how nonsensical it is.
Right.
And so he wanted, because a lot of corporations are using whiteboard videos to communicate these things, he wanted whiteboard to be that genre.
Make it full circle.
So he contacted us and said, you guys are the best out there that we found.
Yeah.
And so it was we had the words that he was for his song. Yeah. But we didn't have the soundtrack.
Oh, so you didn't know timing of it and all that kind of stuff.
And we didn't know what the feel was going to be.
Fair.
And so we conducted a internal campaign, if you will, or internal contest for artists who's going to take the lead on this. And so they all submitted ideas around the words that we had. And Brian ended up winning. And so he actually got to meet Weird Al.
Oh, nice.
It was a very easy session.
And
he was more or less hands off and just said, you guys are the creators. You guys are great.
Weird Al was hands off.
Yes.
So take it at it, just
go for it.
Here's some stone, Michelangelo, chip away.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. That was a great process, and the video, he loved it when he first saw it.
Sure.
Out, so.
That's awesome.
And since then, we've helped him by creating little promo videos for various projects that he's had.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So did that bleed off into other superstars reaching out to you saying,
no,
hey?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
It's just because of the material that he was producing.
Sure.
That corporate thing.
Sure.
That really fit nicely for us.
Just a matter of time. I imagine it has to be out there on the internet a little while.
Well, it's only gotten, I think it's up to 4 million views, maybe.
That seems like a lot to me, but then I see some other crazy videos that have hundreds of millions that I don't understand.
Exactly.
Unless somebody has this on repeat on their computer. Who is watching this stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a fun project.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kid was just watching a video today that I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like my kid is dumber. It was some guy just playing with different action figures across generations. He had Power Rangers and Transformers and everything. I'm like, my kid, instead of playing with his toys, is watching some guy that's probably in between our age playing with toys.
There you go.
I'm like, oh my God, this is, I don't know what to do here. Did not know that I would come into this as a parent. So the video view thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Different world. Doesn't matter. So You've been in business a while. You got your son-in-law still working for you, and presumably he's still married to your daughter?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no crazy blood there or anything like that?
No. In fact, our daughter is working with us now as well.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you got the whole... but you're out of the garage.
We're out of the garage.
Okay,
yes.
So that's good.
Yeah.
You got a nice studio, good space?
We've got... Actually, we took over 1,700 square feet when we first moved in for three of us.
Sure. But
then we've actually added 3 more suites after that.
Yeah.
And so we've got 4 suites in the building that we're in.
Wow.
So different rooms for different functions. And so
has it been tough to hire? I mean, 25 people, that's a little army.
It's, for instance, well, I would say no.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
I think I was just commenting on this last week. Right now we're hiring an editor.
Okay.
A video editor.
All right. And
there must just not be that many jobs out there for that, because our posting went up, and then within 24 hours we had a dozen candidates, and we've kept it up for 36 hours. We've got over 50 people to look at.
Holy cow.
And people from all over the country.
That is awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. So the salespeople were probably more challenging, but when they get to see what we do, and they're typically inspired, because this is a highly unique product and company, and this is way different than selling insurance.
Sure. Fair. Customer either wants it or they don't, right?
And they get excited about it. They see that, hey, everybody can use this. So,
right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So if you had to give a piece of advice to someone that was considering starting a business of any kind, what would it be?
Well, so the problem that you are solving is probably the most important thing.
The problem that you are solving is the most important thing. Okay.
For your clients. If it's something that you can creatively solve in a unique fashion for a broad audience, you're going to have more luck at it.
Nice.
And I would take that back to my experience in construction software world.
Okay.
I spent 25 years in that world.
Wow.
And construction software is highly specialized.
Sure.
There aren't that many companies, that many people that need it.
Right.
But there are still lots of competitors out there.
Sure.
And everybody's solving it in a similar fashion.
Right.
So what I found right away, what we're doing is going from a vendor that is, I'll call it tolerated, to a vendor that is loved. There's
a huge discrepancy there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun. We get very high amount of, I'll call them love letters.
Sure.
From our clients.
That's awesome.
On a regular basis.
Yeah.
One of the more noteworthy ones is a gentleman who's got the gray hair like I do.
Sure.
Said this has been one of the best vendor experiences. No, I think he said the best vendor experience I've ever had in my career.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
That is fantastic. Because I would say most vendors are probably tolerated. I'm thinking of just about every utility that I have to deal with.
Right.
Like, we use you because we don't have a choice, because there's only one outlet here.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
Yeah. So the way that our clients, interact with us that way, that's just so gratifying.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, thanks for coming. This has been a super great pleasure. Can you tell us, you have a website, I imagine?
Truscribe.com, TRUSCRIBE.
Awesome. Truscribe.com without the first E.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. So the audience can check you out, Jim. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land, coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for small businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs in all stages of their business on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, Available on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Jim Herkert, Chief Executive Officer at Truscribe. That is at truscribe.com, TRUSCRIBE.com. Jim, thanks so much for being on here.
You bet. Thank you, Jim.
You got a great story. How many people will start a business with their son-in-law? Not many. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 1 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunpraymediacenter.com. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link, found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome, and if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.